To go to our Jelly Bean winner. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I've never been around so many winners in my life. And thank you to Carolyn for inviting me to be here as part of Sweepstakes royalty, her being the contest queen, me being the Sweepstakes King. That's nothing I ever dreamed I would ever be. I actually started off as Jungle Steve, working the Jungle Cruise in Orlando, Florida. So that was my initial title. And actually, I always used to like going to Disneyland. So it's funny looking at the Jungle Cruise now, it looks a little bit outdated. Back in the day, it was very cool to have these mechanical animals move around you. So basically I wanted to tell you how I got started into loving to win, and that goes back to 3rd grade. I was always very, very shy, which you can probably tell. I would always hide behind my mother's skirt wherever we went, and our school was having a poster contest where you wanted to tell the world why it was bad to be a litter bug. So I actually won the title of being the best litter bug. I caught the sweepstakes litter bug by entering a sweepstakes bug that won 1st place. So I was in the library and I heard my name announced and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. So that's kind of what got it started. And then from there, I just watched game shows. Did any of you watch game shows? Yeah, one of my favorite game shows was Match Game with Gene Rader. Remember him with the skinny microphone? Well, I always dreamed about being on a game show. So I went to college in Denver. I was a mass communications major, and I had to do an extra project, so I did a little study on how to be a game show contestant. So I found out that it helps to say that you're from out of town, because they always want people from out of town. I found out it pays to dress well, like a job interview, and then also to come up with something interesting to say about yourself. So when I graduated, I moved to LA. The first thing I did was pick up the LA Times, looked in the classified section. How many of you look in the classified section today in the newspaper? Not very often. So I actually went in, auditioned, and people, they had us in a circle. They'd say, tell us about yourself. Somebody would say, oh, I'm really happy to be here today. I have 2 wonderful children. And I said, hey, my name's Steve. I'm getting married in Times Square on New Year's Eve when the ball drops. And there were people like, oh, honey, you're too young to be getting married, because I looked about 15 at the time. So they chose me. I was on the show, and I matched Gene Rayburn, McLean Stevenson, ball off a blank. What would you say?
Cliff.
People in the audience said clip, and when I said the word horse, Gene Rayburn said, well, didn't you hear what people were saying in the audience? And I said, well, horse is all I thought of. And that's what McLean Stevenson from Ash wrote down, so I won $6,000. So I thought, this is great.
Yeah,
where's the classified section? I want to try out for more game shows. But then I found out you could only be on 3 game shows in your life. This was 1981. And you had to wait a year. They wanted to make sure that people weren't professional game show contestants. And I'm sure you've met this lady over here that's talked about how people can, try to cheat. But now it's easier with the internet and people checking you out. So I basically gave up entering anything. I got a job at Universal Studios as a tour guide, which I thought was kind of neat. But I almost got fired because I wanted to be in a promo. Remember the 18 with Mr. T with the mohawk?
Yeah.
So I sent in like a picture of myself, and I put red, white, and blue ribbons around it saying, I want a mohawk like Mr. T, because that's people in the promo had to be willing to get it. Well, that caught their eye, and that's how I started to learn, hey, you can catch people's eye by doing things like decorating. So they hired me. In the promo, I'm walking a dog, and the dog has a Mr. T mohawk, and so do I. So the next day, they told me to go home because they didn't want to call tour guides to Universal. So in the Valley, I went to Laverne's Wigs, and I got a $30 wig, and I wore it all summer. And I kept it on. So then what I wanted to do now was, I still wanted to win. So I started entering, I thought, hey, here's, in the coupon section of the Sunday paper. Did you ever see like national sweepstakes contests on cereal boxes? I'm like, hey, I don't have to wait for another year to do game shows. So I started entering those, and I would like fill out so many entries, and it was so stressful. But I'm like, I'm gonna win, and guess what?
You won.
I didn't win anything. I felt like the most unlucky person in the world. I thought, I can't bring across my personality on my name and entry form, so I guess I'll give it up. Well, come 1994, I was shopping at our local grocery store, Alpha Beta, which is long gone. But they were having their anniversary sweepstakes, and at each store they were giving away a color TV. So I thought, hey, I can maybe win this. So what I did was, I learned that you have to read the rules, and I read the rules, and I did something that I wouldn't suggest now. I took like big piles of the entry forms home, and I filled them all out. The sweepstakes was only for 2 weeks, so I went around to 5 alpha betas in my radius, like 2-mile radius, and I staggered them. I put in a few here and there, and then I learned about folding up entry forms, so we take up more room in the box. But I kept some flat, thinking, well, if they think it's someone that is trying to be tricky, I'll choose a flat one. Well, within 10 minutes, I got calls when they were announcing the winners from 3 different store managers saying I had won TVs at 3 of those, and then the 4th one said you won the $100 gift certificate, and then I thought, oh my God, I've done something wrong, I cheated. So I thought, what do? Do I turn myself in? Well, apparently it wasn't in the rules that they don't check with each other. So they put my name in for the overall grand prize, and I won a trip to Puerto Rico. So then, in the next year, I ended up winning 4 trips. I started getting these big, bold envelopes that were padded, and I won a trip to Berlin to see the Rolling Stones. And it was through a radio station, but I tried dialing in and I couldn't dial in. I never could get through, but I read the small print, second chance, and I saw you could mail it in. So I got these huge envelopes, and I put all these stickers for the Rolling Stones. And when they called me to tell me that I won, they said, hey, you must be the biggest Rolling Stones fan in the world. And I thought, wait a minute, are they supposed to be blindfolded when they choose? And then I won a Diet Coke cruise, a Caribbean cruise, and the same thing, I decorated that. And I also won a trip to Jamaica through my cable company. And it was all from mailing in my entries. But you know what? Things have changed a lot. As you can tell in Carolyn's book that she graciously had me write the forward to, back in the day, I spent so much money on postage. I had what I called my sweepstakes kit. I had 3x5 cards. I had bought stickers by the pound. And it was a lot of work. But it gave me the advantage that other people wouldn't take the time to decorate and stuff. So I think the tools have changed and the way that people enter has changed. But I think the basic steps of like being positive, knowing that you can win. Like when I was losing all the time, I was like, oh, I'm not going to win. I'm gonna force it. It wasn't any fun. I took all the fun out of it. And one of the most things what I treasure about sweepstakes is it's really fun. And you get to meet a lot of people like you guys. And it just really adds a lot to your life that maybe you wouldn't experience otherwise. And then after sweepstakes, I discovered contests. And I thought, well, a lot of people don't take the time to write an essay. So the LA Times was looking for the Dodgers' biggest fan. And I thought it was a baseball team. I'm like, oh, I wasn't the biggest fan. But so I ended up writing why I was the biggest fan, and they chose me as the winner. So I had to do some quick research on the Dodgers. And then I also had to throw out the first pitch, so I practiced against the tree a lot. So it was really neat to see my picture on the big jumbo screen. And then the other thing, I won a fried chicken contest. I can't cook, but Wesson Oil was looking for your favorite fried chicken recipe, of course using Wesson Oil. So I came up with something called crackling double nut fried chicken, which I put peanut butter in, coconut in. I know Carolyn was fun, and I've seen your recipes online. So it won, and I thought, wow, it must really be good. So I tried making it. All the peanut butter stood off, the coconut burned. So I figured the title had something to do with it, but I got a certificate with excellence of cooking because I'm such a good cook. So I figured out it never hurts to try, even though. And you know, the other thing, I never expected to be the Sweepstakes King. I like to write stories. Like when I was on Match Game, I wrote an article for Florida Magazine in Orlando. You probably heard of the Sentinel. And they liked my story, so I wrote how I did it. And then I was having a little dry period with, you know, have you ever had a dry period in your Yeah. So I thought, okay, I need to drum up some energy. So I pitched a story to the LA Times that I could share some of my stories, how I actually win things. So I wanted them to read, you know, they probably get so many ideas for stories. So I sent them something very colorful. And I wrote about all the stuff I had won, and in my envelope I put sand in it. I said, I'm writing this from Maui or whatever, you know, I win so many trips. Well, they liked the idea, but they didn't want me to write it, so they hired someone to write it. And it ended up being like this is 1995. So it ended up being a big story, and I thought, hey, with sweepstakes you promote, so I thought, I'll promote myself. I called the local KTLA Morning News, which is really popular in LA, where they get high ratings, and I said, hey, pick up the paper, I'm in it, I'd love to be on your show and tell how I win things. They're like, are you really in the paper? And they saw it. So I went down, and I was on the show, and I almost lost my job at NBC, because my boss's favorite show is the morning show on KTLA. He called down to where I was supposed to be doing Chiron for promos and said, where's Steve? So, but during the interview, they said live, hey, you know a lot about this, you should write a book about it. Well, like another sweepstakes win, a publisher happened to be watching, and he said, you know what, I've been thinking about doing a sweepstakes book, I'd love to have you be in it. So, he really promoted me. I got up at 2:30 to do a lot of, you've probably done radio interviews, and living in LA, I had to get up super early for the drive time on the East Coast. And the thing that I really didn't expect was a tabloid called me and said, hey, we want to have you in our tabloid, and we want to get all your prizes together and get a picture of you. So they came over, and I had to invent like, oh, well, I've won 3 TVs, but 2 of them I gave away, but here, I'll hold one from the closet that doesn't work anymore. So they took a picture, and I had just won like 50 CDs. They were all people I've never heard of. So they said, hey, why don't you take your CDs and pan it out like this and smile, like all the CDs you won with all your prizes in the back. I was shocked. When I picked up that tabloid, I was holding wads of $100 bills. And on the cover of the page, America's Lottery Genius. That was the title. They said I had won so many lotteries that I now gave away money to all my favorite charities. And I was just waiting for a call from somebody with a security firm or IRS saying, hey, where are you reporting on this money? And as a result of that, I got a call from CNN. CNN said, hey, there's this huge jackpot out there. You're America's lottery genius. We'd like you to be live tomorrow morning from our CNN headquarters. So I learned to bait and switch. I tried to talk about sweepstakes, and they want, well, how many contests have you won? I mean, how many lotteries have you won? And I said, well, you know what? My rule is you don't count your cards while you're still in the game. So I made it through that one. So you have to look out for some of those lottery stories. But I actually started winning so many things that I couldn't take all the trips. And as Carolyn and a lot of you know, these trips add up. And I learned very quickly that the advertised price of a lot of these trips, if you do the calculations on your own, doesn't quite add up to that. So I learned that you can document for the IRS and show what the actual value of the prizes are. Because it was impressive to say, hey, I won a $30,000 trip, but I won this multi-$1,000 trip. But when it gets down to it, you don't want to pay the taxes on that. But anyway, I wanted to say that I really kind of shifted my gears a little bit. I don't really enter sweepstakes a lot or contests, but the skills that I've taken away from it have enriched my life a lot. Remember, have you read or seen stories about The Secret and about positive energy? Kind of my saying is that actually I got from a friend is that good things are always happening, because some bad things have happened in everyone's life. My partner of 18 years passed away unexpectedly, so it was kind of tough to remember that good things are always happening, and that's kind of when I pulled back from sweepstakes a little bit. But then I remembered my positive energy and started using it in life in other ways. And there was a documentary sweepstakes or contest, and I'd never really done a contest before, but with today you can do your own documentary with a cell phone, like Carolyn's doing. So I did my own little documentary, and I ended up being in several film festivals. So the way I presented my entries was very much like being in a sweepstakes. And when I went out to some of the festivals, I was able to share my story, and it was like a means using my sweepstakes tools and contest tools. Then at work recently, they had a Know Your Value. They wanted people to express why they should be one of 100 employees of Comcast Universal to be sent to NBC in New York and have a conference with MSNBC people and how to further your value in your career. So you were supposed to be nominated by someone, but I read this fine print, and it said you could nominate yourself. So that's exactly what I did, and a lot of it was writing essays. So I wrote essays to kind of talk about my life and what I had done, and part of it was sweepstakes and the positivity. And Mark, my husband here, the two of us have recently adopted 2 boys through the county of Los Angeles, and I call them a little bit of my piece of luck too, because they're Irish twins. And I had never heard the term Irish twins. I had heard of the Irish sweepstakes. But Irish twins are siblings that are born within the same year or within a year of each other. They were both born in 2010.
I'm an Irish twin.
Oh, really? So you knew exactly what that was.
29 days we're apart.
Wow. And with the court system, it just happened to be that the adoption day landed on St. Patrick's Day. So it all worked out really, really well. And something that I just found out about that maybe you all know about, have you ever heard of crowdsourcing?
Yes.
Yes, that is a new big wave of marketing that companies are looking for new ideas that aren't necessarily coming from their staff and their employees. So they're reaching out to people that might have ideas that somebody within our company may not have an idea about, or be too blinded by the corporate politics or whatever. So there's a website called HeroX.com. So they have challenges on there that anyone can sign up for free. And like Coca-Cola is looking for a new sweetener that is plant-based or whatever, so you might have to know a little bit about chemistry and biology, but the grand prize for that is $1 million. And they had an intercompany one. I don't know of the results yet, but within the company, NBC started off as radio, and then it went to broadcast, and now there's so many different platforms that people can watch their content on. A lot of times people are watching a show and may not even know it's from NBC. So that's a new challenge, and just like with sweepstakes too, people are thinking of new ways through social media and through the internet to reach their target audience. So that's a whole new way that I'm trying to use kind of my skills for this HeroX.com. For my inner NBC, they're selecting 15 people from the company to go to a conference. So I don't know the results of that yet, but part of it was writing 4 different essays about yourself and what you see for the company and possible crowdsourcing ideas. And it's just kind of exciting without the background of wanting to be on a game show or winning sweepstakes or contests. I never would have thought about participating. And a lot of people that I know looked at it like, oh my gosh, you got to fill out 4 paragraphs? Forget that. So I just learned that in addition to winning things, that being with people like you, it's really positive and it's really encouraging, and you can take it beyond and always remember that good things are happening even when things aren't going so well. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Steve, you said HeroX.com, right?
Yeah, HeroX.com. I think it's HeroX.com.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much.